Hello, my Aloha tribe, and welcome to the Aloha Perspective. Happy Thursday. It's Friday Eve. So, how is everyone today? I hope everyone's doing well. Yesterday we did Self-Care Wednesday, and it may have gotten a little rambly, but it's okay because I was speaking from the heart. So, hopefully yesterday was helpful for some people. So anyways, or everybody. Right? So again, starting with the same deck that we do on self-love days, and today is self-love number 6. And here we go. Thoughtfulness. It's time to put your money where your mouth is and have fun showing your love. Think of all the little things you can do to show a person you love them. Then stop thinking of those things and actually do them. It is time to hide a note in someone's pocket. Oh, is it time to hide a note in someone's pocket, make them a snack, order them a book? Anything thoughtful can be an act of love. Even taking the trash out to the dumpster, unless you're dating the trash, in which case don't take it to the dumpster, take it somewhere fancy. So this is the self-helpy cards without the self-helpiness. Anyways, wow. Who would have thought that being so full of thoughts could be considered thoughtful? Good morning, baby sibling. So, again, these are the love and relationships cards, but the reason I'm using this deck is simply based on the fact that we can take the principles that we would do for somebody else and do them for ourselves in an act of self-love. So again, it's time to put your money where your mouth is and have fun showing your love. Think of all the little things you can do to show a person you love them. Think of all the little things you can do for yourself to show you that you love you, to really kind of ramp up your self-love, right? That's what this is all about. It's about showing what you would do for somebody else. Why not do it also for yourself? A lot of times we forget to take care of ourselves. We forget about the self-care, and that can start to affect our self-love. It can start to make us feel icky. It can start to make us feel down or blue because we're losing ourselves in the process. We should never lose ourselves in the process. When you have, in my perspective, if you have a firm self-love, then chances are you're not really going to lose yourself. You might lose yourself in certain ways, but you're going to find your way back to who you are. You're going to find your way back to you and the center of your being, the core of your being. That's what thoughtfulness is about. It's not just about doing for others. It's about doing for ourselves as well, taking care of our well-being. Remember, we cannot give from an empty cup, right? We cannot serve from an empty cup. You have to give and serve. You have to offer yourself from a full cup. And everything else should be a bonus that helps your cup overflow. So remember the thoughtfulness, okay? Do something kind for yourself. So let's see. Let's roll right into lesson number 6 of self-love. Good morning, older sibling. Lesson number 6 of self-love. I know. Let's see what we got today. Lesson number 6. What do you need to forgive yourself for? What do you need to forgive yourself for? Now remember, if you're following along with a journal, or even if you're not following along with a journal and you're just kind of winging it, when you come up with your answer, remember, ask why. Why is this your answer? And one of the reasons I've been saying that, and I will probably repeat it every time we have a self-love lesson for anybody that might be jumping in that's new, is because we want to make sure that that is the actual answer we're looking for, and not just the first, kind of cliche, basic, everybody thinks this kind of answer, because the first thing that comes to my head when I say, what do you need to forgive yourself for? Being mean to myself. And then people will just write it down. I should forgive myself for being mean to myself. But why? Why are you mean to yourself? One of the ways we build and maintain this foundation and this beautiful house that we're building of self-love is to heal things. It's so, what is the saying? Because a lot of times if we don't heal things, we start kind of transferring it and projecting it onto other people. And what do they say? People that live in glass houses should not throw rocks. I finally got one right. without having to ask for help. But people who live in glass houses should not throw rocks, right? Well, you don't want to throw rocks, especially if you live in a glass house. So lesson number 6 is self-love. Again, what do you need to forgive yourself for? Now, I'm struggling with this one, but because I don't really have a lot of things in my head, because I've been doing so many different type of techniques and letting go and releasing so many things. But here's the thing. I would probably say that my answer would be stigmatizing myself. You know, we talk about removing the stigma of all kinds of things, right? I mean, everything across the board. Things that make you giggle or things that make you go like, really? And we talk about destigmatizing mental health, which really needs to be done. And yet we'll turn inwards and we'll hold ourselves accountable for things that we're asking for grace and compassion for other people. So why do we do this? Why are we so hard on ourselves while we fight so hard for other people with the same issues? And the only thing I can think of for myself, in my opinion, which / perspective, for me, I think it's just because I feel like sometimes I feel like an imposter. You know, it's like I'm sitting here trying to help other people, trying to destigmatize mental health, and yet I'll struggle with my own. I'll spiral. The last couple of weeks have been very difficult, and I've been trying to find my footing. It has not been easy, and I've been okay, and I wouldn't say I'm in a spiral, but I just feel like I'm on, okay, for anybody that's ever ridden a roller coaster, you know when you ride a really good roller coaster and you get off, and then all of a sudden you're kind of wobbly? That's what it feels like. It feels like I've been on this like years-long roller coaster, and I'm just trying to catch my balance and, you know, kind of even out my equilibrium. And I think I don't give myself enough grace and compassion or empathy. I can be very, very hard on myself. Very, very hard. And I think it's because, you know, for me, and maybe for other people, I'm always going to say for me, but I'm hoping that maybe this message resonates with other people, which is why I'm opening myself up and sharing my side of what my answer would be. It's not to just inspire people to be honest with themselves, but I think it's to kind of open that doorway and say, look, when we're honest with ourselves, this is how we heal. And as I'm talking, I'm seeing it. And what literally just popped in my head as my why do I need to forgive myself for these things, is because I have lived by other people's fears, ambitions, limitations, hopes, and dreams. I have carried the weight of other people's expectations for me. And I think by doing that, every time I fail, or every time I start something and don't finish it, it's because I'm so worried that it won't be good enough in the end. You know, and I could throw you know what, I'm gonna be snarky right now, because I have a story out there that I've asked 2 people to read and they have not. And but you know what, I think I did that because I needed validation on that. I needed validation that it was okay, even though I had a third person that read it literally in an hour and a half and thought, wow, this must have been cathartic for you, this must have been very, you know, opening for you. And it was very good. It was very good. You know, I would put it out there and read it, even if I didn't know you. And that should have been enough. But I put my worth in other people's hands. And I wasn't trying to call anybody out when I did that, when I talked about that story, but maybe I was. But I think I needed to, because now I understand it. I need to forgive myself for not having enough faith in myself, for stigmatizing myself, for not finishing things because I'm afraid that other people will think that's just not good enough, for not sharing it. I have very, very bad George McFly syndrome. For anyone who's seen Back to the Future, he had all these stories and he never wanted to share them because what if people don't like them? And it's like, you know, somebody out there might, right? Somebody out there might. And I have thrown myself under the bus for far too long, far, far too long. Because I think when we carry the expectations of other people, we're limiting ourselves. Because is it something we want? Is it something that's our dream? Or are we living somebody else's dream because maybe they didn't get to pursue it, or maybe they didn't have the kind of support that maybe they're trying to give to you. See, I was so outside of my head growing up sometimes. I mean, I've talked about it a million times. I don't need to go over it again. I had very, very supportive and encouraging parents. But there was a part of me that just didn't feel, it was just damaged. It was broken. And, when you're trying to hide that and you're trying to be a good kid and this, that, and the other, because, you're hiding things, my parents never understood. I mean, they always raised me to be confident, to feel good about myself, and they just couldn't understand why I didn't. And I think that's part of where my imposter syndrome comes from. Am I worthy? Am I, important enough? Well, you should be. Part of self-love is, to me, part of self-love is really truly believing that you are important enough, that you can make a difference in this world, that, you bring something beautiful to the table. Every single person is born with an opportunity to bring something beautiful to the table. What we do with that is up to us. Sometimes you can say, well, it was because how I was raised, or it was this, that, or the other. But, I know people who struggled with their own childhood issues who do bring beautiful things to this world. I know people who went through bad things when they were kids who bring something beautiful to this world. Because they take their pain and they they let it blossom. They become the lotus flower. They go through all this mucky stuff in the mud and, in the darkness, and then they rise up to the surface and just blossom into something so beautiful, something so multi-layered, and multi-layered in a beautiful way. Because all the layers can be seen. When the lotus flower opens up, there's different sections of it. But you can see every layer because it's exposed. And that's what we're aiming for. We're aiming for being authentic, being a genuine human being comfortable in your own skin. Not feeling stigmatized by your own self when you're not living up to the expectations that other people have had for you. We need, I always talk about that one saying, I now go beyond the fears and limitations. No, I now go beyond other people's fears and limitations. But maybe we should add expectations to that. I now go beyond other people's fears, expectations, and limitations. Because somebody else's dream should not be put on your shoulders to carry. I mean, maybe if you have the same dream, it's understandable. Or maybe you feel like, this is something I'd really like to do and I think it would make them really proud. Make sure that when you make a decision, especially if it's a career decision, that it's something you want. No matter what you pursue, no matter what direction you go, they will be proud of you. But you have to be yourself. And I know there's a lot of situations and a lot of families where people aren't allowed to be their genuine self. They're kind of pushed into what, other people feel they should be doing with their life, what other people feel like they need to be doing with their life. Oh, it's very, it's stable, it's this, it's that, but is it adventurous? Or do you just feel like you need to do that because somebody told you that that should be your path? Because that's how a lot of people end up unhappy. We lose focus. We lose sight of our own self-love because we're so busy trying to please everybody else. That is straight up people pleasing. It's right there in what I just said. We're trying to please everybody else. So I think the moral of this story is, when we talk about needing to forgive ourselves, why do we need to forgive ourselves? Because forgiveness is a huge word. Forgiveness is usually what we talk about when someone hurts us so badly that, we don't want to forgive them. Or people tell us, in therapy I learned that forgiveness isn't about the other person. And you see it all the time now, but I learned it in therapy. Forgiveness isn't about the other person and letting them off the hook. It's your freedom. It's you saying, you know what? I forgive what's happened to me because I don't want to carry it anymore. I want to throw it into, the abyss and let it go because I don't want it affecting my life anymore. I don't want it, damaging my thoughts and my feelings anymore, or tearing me down, or being an anchor on my boat, like a really heavy anchor that nobody can lift. I don't want that anymore. We want the kind of anchors that, we can, sail into port, drop an anchor for a bit, tie yourself to the moorings or whatever, and then set sail when you're ready. But there are some anchors that are so heavy, it's like you have to decide, do you want to let that anchor go? When you become experienced in sailing your own personal ship, you'll know that you can survive even without an anchor. Because you're experienced enough to know how to bring yourself into port and buy a new anchor. Not the greatest metaphor, I know, and I'm kind of building on the old ones that I've already done. Early on in the perspective, it started with, living in the sea of misery, right? With the island of overthinking right in the center of it. And then there was this huge wall of waves that you have to go through to get to the ocean of bliss. Okay? And I don't know how many people catch it, but we're talking about a sea versus an ocean. A sea is just a body of water in the vastness of an ocean, or in, landlocked. But it's a small body of water compared to the ocean. And the reason I did that is because a lot of times what holds us back, not forgiving ourselves, holding ourselves accountable for things, making ourselves feel bad, and not giving ourselves the compassion, the grace, the empathy, that puts us in the sea of misery. When there's a whole ocean out there to be had. And I plopped the island of overthinking smack dab in the center of that sea of misery. Because that's also what happens. When we're miserable, when we're sad, when we're feeling whatever it is we're feeling that is not a feeling of joy or happiness, we start to overthink. And overthinking can lead to bad things. It can lead to really bad decisions. It's not a good thing. I've lived there. I mean, I was like, Robinson Crusoe in the Sea of Misery, with my little tent on the island of overthinking. And once I realized that there's an opportunity to flip the narrative and to say, you know what? Yeah, I may be in the island of overthinking and, but you know what? I'm not that far away from the shore of the Sea of Misery. So I'm gonna swim across. I'm gonna get to that Sea of Misery shore, and I'm gonna find a boat, or I'm gonna build one because there's tons of trees. The Sea of Misery is what you make it. The island of overthinking is what you make it. I mean, the island of overthinking may suddenly have a bunch of trees that you can chop down and make a boat with, make a raft, right? Just like Castaway, except don't lose Wilson. Don't let Wilson fall into the ocean. But sorry. But I think those are the things that I need to forgive myself for. I hold myself accountable for so many things. And like I said, as I was going through this with you guys, for anyone that's new, I am doing this exercise right along with everybody. And I'm discovering new things about myself. There are little chains, I feel, that still kind of hold me back. And I'm breaking them. It seems almost every day that I do a lesson, I'm breaking another one. And this is the one that, I'm seeing. I don't need to forgive myself for not living up to other people's expectations. I need to forgive myself for not living up to my own. And there's still a lot of life ahead of me. A lot of life ahead of me. So instead of, taking the forgiveness as, oh, I've done something bad, Forgive the choices. Forgive whatever you need to forgive of yourself from yesterday and back, and let it go. You know? Today's a gift. Okay, I'm gonna skip to the end of that whole saying, and just skip to the end and say, today is a gift. That's why they call it the present, right? Today is a yeah. You saw me tripping over that. Today is a gift. That's why they call it the present. Don't worry about tomorrow. Don't worry about yesterday. Focus on today. Okay, what can you do? What can you start to do? What choices can you start to make that will put you on the path of where you want to be? That will put you on the path of the direction you want to go in. That's what you need to focus on. Forgive your past. Whatever you feel you need to forgive in your past, forgive it. If you don't feel like you need to forgive anything, then ask yourself, why? Seriously, ask yourself why. There's always something in our background, whether it was being mean to somebody, throwing a muffin at somebody's head, whatever it is. It could even be small things that might still weigh on you that just you never realize have built up into this huge thing, that have built up into this kind of a walking monster that you've created that you didn't realize. Or maybe you just need to forgive yourself for being so hard on yourself, for expecting so much from yourself. Oh, good morning, Ladina. I'm glad this was helpful for you. Oh my goodness, I cannot talk today. I'm glad this was good for you today. So, as people watching later will know, this is a live, so I do get comments as we go. But just really try to remember that, okay? Even if you can't think of something, then just forgive yourself for being so hard on yourself. You don't need to forgive yourself for not living up to other people's expectations. If you want to forgive yourself for not living up to yours, then forgive yourself and start doing it. Start living up to your expectations that you have for yourself, the expectations you've set for yourself. Maybe you have goals. Maybe you have plans. Maybe there's so many things that you still want to do in life. Don't let age get in the way. A lot of people think, well, I'm too old. Okay. I know somebody who has really great ideas. They're a story writer. I'm not talking about me because we've already talked about my stuff, but I do love to write. But I tell them, well, why don't you, write some of these stories down? Oh, I'm too old. You're never too old. As long as you're breathing, you're never too old. Writing is one of the jobs I truly feel in this world has no age limit, because you're at a computer. I mean, it's so much easier than it was like just 100 years ago where you had to write shit down. 40 years ago, I mean, well, I don't know. The age of computers and word processors were coming in about 40 years ago. So we'll go 50 years ago. Okay, 50 years ago, you had to be, pretty thick in the wallet to get a computer. And even then, the screens were like probably the size of our cell phones. But if you even go 55 years back, the only computers were the computers that were the size of a room, right? Sending spaceships to space, sending rockets to space. And so people had to write everything. They had to type it on a typewriter. But now we have this technology. So don't be limited by age. Please, I'm asking you that. That's one of my, I feel like that's one of my purposes in life, is to tell people to stop worrying about how old you are and just go do what you want to do. If you wanted to go to school and graduate from college, then go do it. Even if you don't put your degree to use, go do it anyway. If you have all this time on your hand, do it. What do you have to lose? You could put a diploma on your wall, and you might even inspire other people to say, wow, you know what? This person did this. And they did it because that was on their bucket list. I saw an article on the TV the other day. It was so cute. This woman was just turned 100 in Australia, and she had never been arrested in her life. So on her 100th birthday, she arranged to be arrested. I know. Handcuffs and everything, put in the back of a squad car, and she's all, now I can check that off my bucket list. And it might seem random and odd, maybe even stupid to some people. I thought it was adorable. She'd never been arrested, never had handcuffs put on her, and that was just something that she wanted to experience. Fortunately, she didn't break any laws. She just broke the centennial mark, right? So what do they call them when you're 100, a centenarian? But yeah, and that's a big thing. As we've seen with Betty White, not everybody makes it to 100. So that's goals. That's major goals. That's life goals right there. But so Ladina says that it's always been her. I'm not sure where that comment came up, but I'm going to venture into thinking that you're talking about always being hard on yourself. She and I have noticed in some of our conversations, are very, very similar in the way we think and how hard we are on ourselves. And, you know, whatever somebody's trauma is, your trauma is important. But when we step into the healing process, you know, we're stepping into a room together to heal the trauma, whatever the trauma was. I don't want to say that nobody's trauma isn't important. Everybody's trauma is important. Whether it seems super small to someone who suffered something horrible, or it's super big to somebody who may not have gone through all the other things. Once we step into that room of healing, if it has traumatized you, it's important. If it's something you can't let go of because it hurts, it's important. If it's something you can't let go of and debilitates you, it is really important. But, okay, she says yes, or never being good enough. People around me made me feel that way. I am here to make you feel good about yourself. And the reason I read that comment out loud is because I know somewhere down the road, somebody's going to watch this and they're going to say, wow, I'm not alone. I'm not the only person that doesn't feel good enough. And I'm not the only person that's been made to feel that way. Now, I do know a little bit about Ladina's backstory. And I have to say that sometimes when people are struggling in a certain part of their life, they're going to take it out on us. They're going to take it out on the person closest to them. And I don't want to give away her story. It's not mine to share. And I haven't asked for permission. But I will say this. It's not always about us. People will take things out on us. People will project onto us. People will transfer their anger, their anguish, their pain, their struggle onto us, because they don't know how to be accountable for it themselves. And sometimes it happens without them even realizing they're doing it, and damaging the person in the process, making them feel crappy, making them feel low. See, when somebody feels bad about themselves or a situation that they might be in, they're gonna take it out on somebody else, because they don't. And like I said, a lot of times I'm not even sure people are aware they're doing this. Hurt people hurt people. Okay, so hurt people hurt people. Two words, two different meanings. A hurt person is going to hurt somebody else. And a lot of times I feel, in my opinion, in my perspective, it's subconscious. This person doesn't know how to feel good about themselves or people, so they want other people to hurt with them. I've done this. I have been a hurt person that has hurt other people. I was a hurt people hurting other people. Until one day someone took me and under their wing and said, you know, as long as this process has been, I will always be grateful for older sibling for all those years ago taking me under her wing and just gradually leading me to what I now consider the promised land. She was like my Moses. And oh, that's interesting, like Grandma Moses. Wasn't that Harriet Tubman? So anyways, she really did kind of lead me to the promised land. And she did it over years, guys, years, because I resisted. And for a long time, I did not know how to not feel bad about how long it took me. If I had not resisted all those years ago, I used to wonder where I'd be at now. But I realized everything happens for a reason. We always take the path we're meant to take. Sometimes we might take the hard one and come back around and end up right back at the beginning. But instead of thinking, oh, I took the hard way and I ended up right back where I was at, maybe the hard way is where you learned everything. Maybe the hard way is where you learned all the lessons, where you learned the patience, where you learned to not resist anymore. So when you think about the hard way, think about it that way. Don't look at it as being the world's stupidest detour. Think of it as being the world's most educational detour. It opened your eyes and it made you see, and now you're back right at that spot again, but you're not the same person. And so now you can continue on your journey. Because, not everybody is open and trusting, and sometimes we have to take those detours, those educational detours, to learn about ourselves, to grow in who we are. And I think the best that we can do for ourselves is to give ourselves the forgiveness, the compassion, the grace, and the empathy. And remind ourselves that, maybe the situations I was in where somebody was horrible to me was because they had their own problems. And they transferred it onto me. They projected onto me. And that's where the healing starts. We remove the personal attachment out of that and realize, what, maybe they had other things on their mind. Was it right for them to do that? Was it right for them to transfer a project on me? No, it wasn't. And I forgive them for that. And then move forward and forgive yourself for whatever it is you need to forgive yourself for. Like I said, we're all born with a purpose. What we do with that purpose is up to us. It's what we choose. There's no age limit on healing. Okay? I don't care if you're 99 years old. If you have something to heal, heal it. Find that self-love. Self-love is ageless. Forgiveness is ageless. Healing is ageless. And remember what I said. No matter what our trauma is, whether you think someone's is worse than yours or less than yours, once we step into that big wide open room of healing, that's where we all come together. And that's where we should help one another. Don't judge a person by their trauma. Don't judge a person by their past. But if they're looking for help and they're genuinely looking for that compassion and empathy that they can't find in themselves, teach them. Show them that light. Show them that there is a promised land. Be their Moses. Be their guide. Be their scout guide. However you want to put it. Be their tour guide through the adventure of their life. Show them that there is a way. I'm going to finish it with this, okay? I love the show Mom. And in the very last episode, I think it was the very last episode, this girl comes in, right? What it's doing is it's tying it up with a nice pretty bow. And it has a person walking in who's struggling, who's looking at everybody going, oh my God, I can't handle this. You guys are sunshine and roses and I'm struggling to, get better. I'm in AA and everybody's sharing, all this sunshine and roses story. But when they finally get her to have coffee, they talk about all the crap that they've been through. The being homeless in a cardboard box, the going to jail for bank robbery, the, having bad relationships with their children or their parents or whatever. And yeah, it's fiction, but somewhere out there is a real story. People are writing these stories and sharing these stories. And so the girl says to them, well, what was all that happiness crap? And the one person who in that show who has struggled the most says to her, we got better. We got better. So even though it feels like it's going to be a long road, don't judge the road. Don't judge the journey. But focus on where you want to be. Because the journey is where we learn everything. The journey is where we learn everything. And we get better. We get better. But you have to allow that to happen. You have to allow yourself to get better. So if you feel like you need to forgive yourself for anything, do it. Do it and let it go. Don't dwell on it. Don't hold yourself responsible for it. If you need to heal Whatever it is that you're forgiving yourself for, heal it. But forgive it. When we forgive it, we're removing the judgment from it. That's my personal opinion, but that's also what's worked for me. When I have forgiven myself for things and I truly meant it, not said, okay, I forgive myself. But no, when I forgave myself and asked myself why I was forgiving myself for something, I learned to start healing it and moving forward and not resisting as much and going with the flow. I got better. And that's what the perspective's about. It's about sharing my perspective and my thoughts on things to help other people get better. I share my story so other people can heal theirs. Okay? So, if you're watching, you are good enough. And I may not know you, you may not feel it, but I've been where a lot of you have been at. I have been in a place of self-loathing, lack of self-worth, absolutely hating the very core of my being. And I walked through the doors and I walked into the room of healing. And I wandered around in there. I ignored certain things, but eventually I found the door on the other side that says, you're better. Not you're better than anyone else, but I got better. I got better. And, you know, I watched that episode last night. I hadn't planned on it. But then I realized today that everything happens for a reason. Because it's not normally something I watch when I'm going to bed. You know, when I'm laying in bed just trying to fall asleep. But I thought, oh yeah, it's on. I'll watch it. And it just happened to follow an episode that I really liked. And now I know why. Because it really rings true when she says, we got better. And you know, I can tell you, when that show first started, I don't think that character ever thought that they would get to a place where they were at in that show. And yeah, I know it's fiction, but like I said, somewhere out there is a person that's struggling just like that, that's telling somebody new to their program or new to healing, I got better. So I hope everybody has a wonderful, wonderful day today. Go out there and just be who you are. Be who you want to be. Embrace yourself. Love yourself. You know, this is lesson number 6 of 30 lessons of self-love. So we have a long way to go. But, you know, if you're like me and you're figuring things out with each lesson, look how far we've gotten already. Okay, so again, I hope everybody has a wonderful, wonderful day. I'll see you back here tomorrow. Tomorrow's Oracle Friday, so if you want to skip that, you're more than welcome to skip that, but I will be back here Monday with lesson number 7 of self-love. Okay, so have a great, great day, everybody. I'll see you back here tomorrow, 8:30 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time, Facebook Live. It is public. Anybody can watch. You can find it under Shelly Marie Lucas, or you can go to YouTube under the Aloha Perspective with Shelly Marie Lucas, and you can find the replay there. I hope everybody has a wonderful, wonderful day. Please take care of yourselves, and please do your best that you can to forgive yourself. Ask yourself why that is your answer, and start aiming and knowing that you deserve self-love. Have a great day.